Mr. Barnes feels that if someone comes to his place and they park just off the road in the county right-of-way, that should be permissible because he doesn't feel that the county right-of-way really belongs to that property owner. The property owner feels that where there may be, the right-of-way is there so that utilities and things like that can be placed in the right-of-way, drainage ditches can be placed in the right-of-way, but the property still belongs to him. Mm-hmm. So the question that needs to be answered, I think, to resolve some of this is, who owns the right-of-way? Who, can he say, I don't want people parking in the right-of-way in front of my house? What's the law on that? You hadn't looked at it.
It's a good question. The owner owns all the land that the owner bought.
Right.
To the street. But there's always an implied right of a county to have a right-of-way. The right-of-way should not be impeded by the owner. And most people are aware of that. That's why they build their structures, permanent structures, back from the 30 feet. So the county has a right. I think, Mr. Chairman, the issue is really, does the county have the power to enforce its right-of-way, even though the owner owns the land? And I would say yes. The county has a right to enforce its right-of-way interests, particularly if it constitutes a hazard. Yes, because the county controls the roads as well. And so this is a hazard on the right-of-way next to the road that we own. So I'd say yes. But I would quickly say to you, there are multiple hazards from Newcastle there. So that's why you're Solomon, to make a decision, because this is a dispute between neighbors involving parking.
Right.
Mike, just a couple questions real quick. And I'm looking at the picture that Mr. Barnes sent to us. Where actually is the right-of-way from the edge of the pavement? How far does the
It's 30 feet
from the
each
center?
way.
But how far is it? And I'm looking at the flower bed as well. But is it, I see a red flag here, but also I think I see the, maybe the, do what now? So I'm just trying to figure out, where is the county's right of way?
We didn't take a tape measure. Mrs. Steen, Mr. Vance and I didn't measure it. But just from the naked eye, if you're speaking about the road ties, then
Yeah, that's
clearly
what
it
we're
is.
here for, is the cross ties.
Okay, well, clearly, just from human visualization, it is clearly within 30 feet from the center line of that narrow road.
And what would be, and again, I know you asked the owner if they would remove one of the cross ties, and if he does, and someone comes and just runs over his flower bed and park right on it, what happens if they're still on the county right of way?
I thought a good compromise would be to mitigate the hazard, which would be to reduce at least one level of these road ties so it wouldn't constitute an observable hazard to do that. If he removed that and there were tire marks in the garden, he would be upset. Yeah. But it's still on the right of way. The county has a right to enforce its right of way. So the county could do it. But I'll tell you, there are right of way violations all over the place on a very narrow street.
What does that do to us now, since we've been put on notice that exactly what you just said, there's many up and down in that subdivision? What does that do to us now?
As I said, if the residents of Newcastle hearing this meeting today would understand that the county is enforcing its right to force a resident to mitigate a hazard, then they'll be on notice that it may happen to them. And then the other residents of Newcastle may come here and ask that you enforce similar rights against their neighbors if it's a brick mailbox or something else that maybe they don't like. So to me, it's a case of selective enforcement, which could happen to the board.
But here, I guess here's my question. This gentleman brought pictures of mailboxes that is clearly as close as cross ties that we're debating now. And if someone come and hit the mailbox, what do we have as a county as far as liability? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me that.
But these are brick mailboxes.
Yeah, I want to ask a question
Yeah.
regarding the brick mailboxes, because I thought I understood that in the covenants of Newcastle, that they were requiring them to put the brick mailboxes for the homeowners.
Flower beds in there, as long as it doesn't obstruct the view down the road, and I've got low plants, and then they don't keep them down, so.
But what it doesn't do, though, what it doesn't do and can't do is require something that is not on their property to do it on. And that's what I'm hearing here is, it really belongs to the county. I believe that's what you're saying, the right of way.
Yeah.
Regardless what a HOA may,
Sir, if you come up to the podium when you speak, that's all right, we just sit
I would think that the property belongs to the landowner, and the county has the right of way to
Okay.
do what they need to do as a
All right,
road
let's stop
maintenance,
right
whatever.
there.
Yeah.
Is that the case, Mike?
I own to the center line of that road, the way I understand it, on my,
Or do you need to research it and come back?
Tell me you frame the question.
My question here is, who owns the right of way from the center of 30 feet from the center of the road out 30 feet on each side? Who actually owns that land?
who owns the land?
The land, that's exactly
I
right.
own the land.
The owner owns the land,
Okay,
the county has the right of way.
okay, now what does that give us the authority to do? Anything
Road
besides?
maintenance and that kind of thing.
To control the right of way,
Okay,
to enforce the right of way.
Right.
all right,
I
to
mean,
enforce it. Okay,
the front of this pier is your pier is probably 30 feet, isn't it? Just past that?
all right, with that being, well,
probably.
hold on a second, with
Okay.
that being said then, getting back to the safety issue, is there a safety issue?
As I said, there's,
And the right of way is a 60-foot right of way, the property comes up where the stake is, you know what the stake is. Does not,
Okay.
Ralph,
But,
don't talk from your chair.
but that's the way I understand it is the landowner owns the land. The county has the right of way and the easements for all the utilities and all that. If something needs to be done, it have to be done. And I can't hold the county or anybody that's doing the easement liable for anything, and they can do what they want to on there. But not the other landowners don't have ownership of my land.
Right.
That's
right.
That's how I feel.
Counselor, do you need 2 more weeks to look into this a little bit further?
I don't.
Okay, so you're telling me if we move this one, it could be Pandora's box?
Ms. Bax, all I can tell you is that we drove there, and Mr. Vance was with me. There are encroachments, and not just mailboxes. There are planters and all along. It's a very narrow street. So the county has the authority to enforce its right-of-way. County has the authority to promote the health and safety of the community and to enforce ingress and egress on the road. You have police powers, and you can enforce right away. Yes. Is it a hazard, which clearly is within your boundaries to police? I would say 2 road ties, one on top of each other, at that level, constitutes a hazard on the right of way, which could harm someone driving too fast or recklessly, it's on the right of way, yes, it's a safety hazard. Similar to multiple others, as soon as you come off of Newcastle, I've saw that as well. So that's why I suggested a compromise to reduce it by one level tie, which would mitigate the hazard, and you can do that.
Let me just say this, and Mike, I agree with you on maybe just compromise. This is not new. We've been dealing with this 20 years since I've been on the board with right-of-way, with structure on right-of-way. State aid, the way they police Madison County and other counties, when you get ready to asphalt or resurface a road that is state funded, they make us take off any metal or brick mailboxes. So this is not new. Mike ain't gonna just solve it tonight. It ain't just on narrow roads, it's on widespread roads. So, way this board been doing with it for 20 years, when it came in and got it reported and was brought to our attention, we done something about it. But if nobody complained, we didn't enforce it. So, it ain't a new ball game. So the compromise, I think, is something that we might look at and consider.
Frank, may I ask one question?
Yeah, you may.
What I would like to know is who owns the right-of-way? Does the landowner have the right to tell somebody they cannot park on the county right-of-way? That's all I'm asking. You know, if I got a vehicle, I pull out there, and I'm going to be there 30 minutes or whatever, can I park on the county right-of-way? If I park there, can the landowner come out there and tell me I got to move?
I don't think, and in most cases, let me finish, sir. In most cases, people park all the time on right of way, and and other people own the land, and you park all the time on right of way. But when you come to neighborhoods, small neighborhoods, and neighborhood lots, a lot of people think that, hey, I don't really like a car parked in front of my house. That I don't know who they are. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to anybody in my family. And so common courtesy is that unless you know whose house you're parking in front of, you don't park in front of their house. That's just common courtesy. And the only thing that really prevents neighbors from coming before this board is that the neighbors get along and they provide and give to each other those common courtesies. And what we talking about here, all this stuff about encroachment and safety, and you're talking about narrow roads and people driving 20 miles an hour, and here's a brick mailbox that the folks that built the subdivision intended to have in the subdivision, and now because he put a flower bed in the right of way to keep folks from parking in front of his house, we're going to go ahead now, and this board is being asked to ask him to move, which sets the precedent for everybody in the neighborhood that ain't fighting. Well, it'll reach past that neighborhood. I don't like the reason why we're here. Okay, and yeah, we got the right to tell him to move the cross ties. I think he has the right to say, I don't want this unknown car parked in front of my house. And that he ought to be able to call the sheriff's department and say, look, I've got a strange car parked in front of my house. Can you come and investigate it? I mean, it could just continue to go one step after the other. It would be a lot better if you all could work out your differences at the house and the lot you have, and try to say, okay, if I do this, would this be okay? And work some things out. This board's not going to solve this problem. We're not going to solve it. I don't see any way that we could solve it.
Mr. President, Tim, could you tell us about the construction you got to do out there?
The pipe in question going underneath the road does have a sinkhole in it, and it just happens to be right in the area where the existing flower bed is. So at some point, the county does have to go out there and we have to repair this pipe just to replace the leaking section and to maintain the integrity of the road. So at that point, we will have to do some things with the flower bed.
Does that mean remove the flower bed?
Well,
Or does that not mean that?
yes, I mean,
Okay, so
we
you
will
gonna
have to remove the cross
flower
ties. That's not my decision to make. Right, right. And that's, we know that, and we've got to fix it to maintain the integrity of the road. It's an old pipe, and it's concrete, and it's starting to leak.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, how would the board like to conclude this? Since we, I think we've kind of hit on all the issues. Mr. I guess, is this your district?
That's my district.
Can you give us a motion of some kind? If you want to move all the, you know.
Would a compromise do you any good, Ralph?
Right? Say one more thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it short.
All right. I would love to work with Mr. Pizarro to do anything out there to make improvements of the county. I'd even be willing to pave the area from where, you know, the right-of-way goes down through there, to widen the road where I think needs to be wider out there. I don't know how far you can pave on the shoulder, but I'd be more than happy at my expense to pave both sides of the right-of-way out there, you know, for about 100 feet or whatever, if that would help. I have an unusual lot, it's just 32 feet. The cross ties we're talking about, the flower bed we're talking about, is 62 feet from his driveway. It's not in front of his house. You know, since I bought the lot, if I go out there and park, I've been asked to move off the right of way. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not, you know, I'm looking at it from a safety standpoint. I'm saying I would be willing to pave the shoulders out there at my expense, you know, to have an area where people could park or drive. It's just a narrow stretch of road through that section. That's all I'm gonna say.
What kind of motion do you have on the table?
I'm waiting on a motion.
Let's get the short version.
Yeah.
I live out there. Mr. Barnes does not. I agree with you. It's in front of my property, in front of my house. Okay, all this stuff. And I mean, if this was the case, I could park my F-150 in front of Ralph's property anytime I want to, wouldn't it? That's not right. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to go on his property or anybody else's. And I just don't, you know, people shouldn't be, I mean, this is a residential neighborhood, for goodness sakes. This is common sense stuff here. And now Ralph is proposing that he pave the entire right-of-way so he can have a runway going into his property after that. He knew what he was buying. He had it surveyed. It was 32 feet. He purchased it. He knew that. He didn't buy my land. Okay? I've been there for 28 years paying taxes in Madison County, and this is, I mean, it's upsetting me. But I'm trying not to be upset, you know. But this doesn't really pass the common sense test, in my opinion. So I'll do. And Mr. Espy wanted me to take off that cross tie, I would. I know that the sinkholes are going to have to be fixed at some point in time. You know, I'll put the stuff back after they fix it, if they can pull that stuff out and put it off to the side. But it's a result not of the failing old culvert. It's a result of the addition that he put on to the culvert. The culvert worked fine until he put the addition on. I don't know whether it broke down or whether the connection that they poured had a leak in it or whatever. But that's the cause. It was working. It did not have a sinkhole and never did until this addition was put on. In the 28 years I've been there.
All right, thank you. I would like to go with SB's recommendation on at least taking one tie down, going to one level. Other than that, I don't see a way out of this.
Is there a second on that motion
I'll second it, just,
for discussion?
I'll second it. I'm not, because it's gonna be removed anyway, and
Yeah.
once he moves it back,
Sooner or later.
yeah, the whole
Okay,
thing.
all in favor of removing one cross tie, leaving everything else like it is? That was the motion made by Supervisor Baxter, second by Supervisor Steen. Show by a sign of aye. Aye. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, sir. And y'all try to see if y'all can get along. Anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Referee.
I think, next, is that Von Sims?
Yes, sir. Vaughn Sims is next.
Yeah, this,
Bond Sims representative.
What?
I don't think he's here. Did,
He's here.
Mr. Sims, did your representative?
I'm actually a
That's
rep.
not Bond Sims.
he's the representative.
I'm actually the representative.
Okay, good, good. That's
He's
fine.
representing Bond Sims.
I'm representing Kenneth Poston.
Who?
Kenneth Poston.
He's the representative for Mr. Bond Sims.
Oh, he represented.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it now. That's, give the chance clerk your name.
My name is Vaughn Sims, and I'm actually going to be here today on behalf of the American veterans, but to be more specific in this regard, Mr. Kenneth Poston.
That's,
If I may approach,
What is your name?
my name is Vaughn Sims.
yeah.
Okay.
Kenneth Poston is the
The
veteran.
actual veteran that's in question.
Good.
If I may approach, can I give them a copy of these so they can follow?
Yeah, okay. Mr. Bond, okay. I have
Oh, that's fine. I'm just looking at date. Okay, May the 8th. And the effective date of last change to
Mr. Sims, be quick.
Okay. The purpose of me being here today is because I feel would ask the board for an immediate relief of the undue burden,
Speak into that mic. There you go.
the undue burden that the county tax collector is imposing on our American veterans. When our veterans get out the military, they are already under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of stress, and when they apply for their benefits, there's some things that the tax collector is not aware of. When these veterans apply for these benefits, they're going through a transition period, and it's taken almost a year to a year and a half for these veterans to get their benefits. When they come in to get their entitlements as far as their tag or property tax and ad valorem tax, they're being told by the tax collector that in order to get those benefits, they have to turn this letter in at the time when they apply for those benefits, which is virtually impossible. It takes almost a year to a year and a half to get those benefits. Well, once those benefits are acquired by the VA is going to come back and tell the state exactly what it is that they have to do and for these veterans to get those benefits. In this particular regard, I've been in contact with Mrs. Kay Pace and Mrs. Rayburn at the tax office, and for some reason, they're saying that they've never encountered this problem before, which I find hard to believe because there's a lot of veterans, 100% disabled veterans in the city of Madison County. I was informed that Mr. Poston initially applied for his tag back in November of 2020. When he got his benefits back from the Department of Veterans Affairs, it's clear in this letter that those benefits are retroactive back to August the 17th of 2020. Within those benefits at that time, Mr. Poston was actually entitled to only have to pay $1 for his tag. Mr. Poston at the time had 2 vehicles, which the law now allows a veteran to tag 2 vehicles at the fee of $1. After speaking to Mrs. Pace, she was under the impression that she had no authority to issue any type of refunds or things of that nature. She could only give a tax credit. Well, I find it hard to believe that being the tax assessor, that you've been in that position that long, that you don't know that you can give out refunds, especially if those refunds are done in error. There is a tax code also that I've discovered, Mississippi Title Code 27-73-7, that clearly states that the tax collector is authorized and empowered to refund any individual, firm, corporation, ad valorem privilege, excise tax that has been paid, collected through error, or otherwise such person, individual, firm, corporation has paid such tax in error. It goes on to state that these taxes erroneously paid within the meaning of this section shall be limited to double payment, overpayment, payment on the state, the United States, vacant exempt lands, and redemptions of land erroneously sold for taxes. She informed me that if those monies are already spent, how is she supposed to give this money back? Well, the provision goes on and explains that as well. It says that all refunds under this provision shall be made out of the monies collected by the tax collector from the same source of revenue or which such source revenue, and if no such revenue exists, they should take these funds from the general funds collection. These veterans are already going through enough hardship when they get out the military to transition back over after successfully getting their benefits. Some of these veterans are committing suicide because they have no other incomes that are coming in while they wait for these benefits. And for our tax collector to impose an undue hardship by requiring that these veterans turn in documentation that they don't have, but once the VA established these benefits, to not go back and make them whole by Mr. Poston paid $2,000 for a tag. It was clear that he was exempt from not having to pay for that tag according to the Department of Veterans Affairs. At the time, he was only supposed to have to pay $1 for that tag. So I'm here today to request that the board immediately invoke Mr. Poston his funds back, because the law clearly states that the tax collector has the right to do so. This is not a moral issue. It's an ethical issue, and it's also the law. There's no reason why we should take these veterans' money after the things that they do for this country. While we sit here today and bicker about all the small things that we're bickering about, there's a veteran somewhere out there or a soldier out there that's looking up in the sky in Iraq or Afghanistan, wondering when the next bomb is going to fall. We owe it to our American veterans to give them what they fight for and what they fought for. I'm 100% veteran myself, and nobody wants to volunteer to be 100% veteran. Nobody. That's a benefit that comes with you that you acquire because of a disability that's so severe. Nobody in here is going to volunteer to be 100%, just like nobody's going to volunteer, even though we all want to go to heaven. Nobody wants to go right now. I can guarantee you that. So I'm here today to ask the board to go back to invoke Mr. Poston his money back effective immediately.
Okay, Mr. Sims, okay, you've given us letters documenting that that Mr. Poston has qualified as 100% disabled, that as of August 17, 2020, and this letter is dated May 8th, 2021, which I guess that was the earliest.
That's the date that they made the decision, sir.
That's the date that they actually said.
Chairman, can I be?
They get made the decision, and it made it retroactive back to this date.
Back to the date that usually what happens, sir, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. Most of the time, a veteran's...
I do understand how it works a little bit.
It's going to be based on the date that he filed the claim or the date that his condition arose. The veteran will have no idea when that's going to be, and there's no way he could give that to the tax collector beforehand. Okay. It's impossible.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm bringing it up, I was just looking at the date, May the 8th, 2021. as far as the refunds and things like that, that's the only time the tax collector of Madison County would have even known that there was, that she would be having the authority, and that she really would have to pass it on to the board anyway. You would be here. So that we can put it, so it goes through the proper channels. But that May 8th was the first date that she could actually do anything.
Well, that's why I'm here today, sir. When we brought that letter to her May the 8th, she declined to go back to pay the veteran retroactively, despite the fact that this evidence was made available.
Again, I point out to you, I think that she had to decline that and kick it up to
the board.
us. The Board of Supervisors has to make that determination. She can't spend money. We spend the money.
Okay.
It got to be approved by this board. So, go ahead, our attorney.
I'd like to move us along, Mr. Chairman. All right, I've spoken to Mr. Sims on behalf of Mr. Poston. I've spoken to our tax collector about this. And first of all, I want to let the public know that it is not the tax collector's idea to be negative to any veterans. We don't ascribe any negative motives at all from the tax collector to any veterans. You know, they all fought for this country, died for this country, disabled for this country. And K-Pace and everybody in the Madison County Tax Collector's Office certainly understands the values and service of veterans. So whatever was done was not done with any negative motives, believe me, no matter what was said. Now, I've looked into the matter, and I've told our tax collector that it was not an error. So there's two statutes involved. One is 27-1953, which is a Mississippi state law, which allows 100% disabled veterans the benefit of receiving a car tag for $1. It used to be one car, but then the 2019 legislature amended it for 2 cars. And then the 2021 legislature said, and a motorcycle, okay? So if you 100% disabled veteran, you're able to get a car tag for $1, benefit of your service, all right? And then the second statute is 27-73-7, which authorizes the tax collector to refund monies received by error, by overpayment, or for circumstances, that we're discussing today. Now, if you look at the facts of this matter, it was not an error that the Madison County tax collector charged Mr. Poston for 2 tags, because on 2 occasions when he bought the tags, he was not able to produce a letter from the VA showing that he was a 100% disabled veteran. He couldn't produce it because he didn't have it. But now we have a letter that I've given all of you, May 8th, 2021, Kenneth Poston from the Department of Veterans Affairs, and basically they did an investigation. It said that your disability occurred, your 100% service-connected disability occurred on August 17th, 2020. So that is the date, the operative date, and that date is before the purchase of either tag. So that's why I'm coming to you today recommending from the general fund, out of the settlement funds of the tax collector, or from the general fund, that I'm telling you that I believe that Mr. Poston is entitled for reimbursements for these 2 tags, at least up to that $1 that he would have paid had he been able to submit this letter when he bought the tags.
Right.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
That'd be 3,800.
No. No, it's not that much.
That's his
This
benefit.
is his benefit award. Let me read that. That's how much he getting from the VA as monthly. That's his monthly.
You know how
benefit
much it is? That you supposed to be
The
getting?
amount of the tags.
Amount of the tax.
The amount of
We
the tags.
put these documents in the minutes, please.
Yeah. Pass those down, transfer. The tag amount that we just approved.
Right, don't have it.
One is 1403 for the decal number 14N228. So that costs $1. And the other is $450.03 for decal number 13N161. And N stands for Navy veteran. But he was not 100%, the letter was not documented that he was 100% service-connected disability when he bought the tag, which is why it was not an error of the Madison County tax collector. But now we know, after a letter that was made retroactive, which would have been before he bought the tags, that he should have been able to get it for $1.
Okay, thank
My
you.
recommendation.
Okay.
You got those amounts, Ronnie?
I'll get it to him, I think.
He's gonna get it to you.
And we've, did we pass
No,
the motion?
we didn't carry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Sim, thank you. I wish you were around when I put in my claim and let you argue my case. Thank you.
Okay. Now, consent items. Yeah, you can leave this. Consent items, please, from 5 through 33.
I got a question on number 18.
Number 18, approve Atmos Energy
Yeah.
Corporation Utility Pyramid.
So I just pulled that one out and I asked the question.
Okay, so we pulling that one out. Any others? Yeah,
Make a
we,
motion on all the other.
yeah, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed. Got it. Okay, item number 18, does anybody have anything on that?
Tim or Shelton, is running of gas down Yandell Road, more or less into 43. My question is, the homes that are present there now, are they gonna be able to tap into that gas line?
The way I understand what they're doing is they're increasing their capacity out there for future development. So I would assume yes.
I know they're going to one certain development, but they're going right past some homes that's already there. That's,
I would have to assume that if they've got something in there, they would provide service to those people. I mean, that,
The developer contacted me, and what he explained to me is he is paying for the trunk lines to go to his development, but he indicated that they would both, well, water, sewer, and gas would all be available to other developments in that area.
all right, all right.
Do you want us to check further on that to confirm that?
It'll be good to know.
Okay.
We'll bring it back up next meeting.
Do you want to hold the permit for that information?
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
unless you can give me an answer for the meeting though.
I don't
Don't
have a
think I
phone number
can.
for anyone
Yeah, I
to
don't
call
either.
today.
I don't think you want, usually how these things work, somebody pays for it, and from here to that point where they pay for it, or they'll be able to tap in along the line. For those that don't have it, he's pretty much getting it out there, but it becomes available for everybody in the area. Utilities don't run a bunch of different lines, they're gonna run one line, and everybody that wants it, they can come in and get it.
Tap in.
That's just the way it goes.
Okay.
And because they ran it so far, somebody else can come that's past that line, and they won't have as much to pay. They won't have as much to pay to get it for. That's how all these developments have gone. That string along, string along, string along.
All right, the Godfather kind of explained something here, so
All right.
I'll go ahead and make the motion, but I still check with him, Shelton,
Yeah, be sure.
and get back with him.
We'll
Make the
actually
motion.
call the gas company and get the information from the gas company instead of the developers.
I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. The next, we have Supervisor Gerald Sting, District 3, Southwest Madison County Fire Protection District.
I would like to make a motion to accept Mr. Jimmy King's resignation, being on the
Second.
fire board And also appoint Mary Ann Sones to his unexpired term.
Okay.
Yeah, second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Paul Griffin, District 5.
Yes, I would just like to, we already have an architect that, designing restroom for 3 hour parks. I would just like, while we already got him engaged, let him, go ahead and design one for Sulphur Spring Park.
I thought we had a restroom at Sulphur Springs Park.
We do. It will be a smaller one sometime when we decide to build over by the softball fields. And this will be, only reason I'm doing it now, because I think we'd save money since we already have
The
architect engaged on the other ones. It won't be nothing compared to the one that's up there. I already talked to Shelton on that it will be a more or less lower key, but it will keep people from walking all the way over to the other side of the park, and they saying playing softball right here on this side.
Okay. While I've got you here, we're talking about Sulphur Springs Park, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that motion. We have the architect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 'Cause I would think that Shelton, the designer of the park bathrooms, are going to do something that it's going to be one design. We can just utilize it in the
Generally, that's what they're working on.
Yeah.
The one at Rogers Park will be a little larger than the 2 that are being designed for Estes Banks and Fairview.
Exactly.
I think, if I'm understanding Supervisor Griffin right, that he's wanting something probably like what we'll have at Fairview at Sulphur Springs, but we'll get with that. And they're getting ready to present to us what the bathrooms will look like. I hope to have that within just a couple of meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Only thing probably changed is the color.
Okay, so I want to make sure I
We
understand.
want to match it to the colors that are
I know I'm
already
asking
there.
a lot of questions, but this is for some other parks. Like, are these parks we own, or parks you rent, or are these our parks?
These are our parks. These are our parks.
Because if we rent it, can we put a bathroom, can we build something on something we rent? Do we rent any of those parks?
No, we have
Okay.
we have long-term leases on those parks. For Rogers Park, is school board owns the property. They did a long-term lease, 25-year lease or better. Same thing with the park Estes.
As long as we have a long-term lease, right, Mike? We need if we're going to build a bathroom on a piece of property that we don't own, we
You
need,
can approve a lease park if it's long-term.
we need to
and
make
if-
sure what we
if-
do,
when
we dot all our
termination-
i's and cross all of our t's. is
Yeah.
all.
Matter of fact, we have long-term leases on them, and at the same time, before we make construction on the loans, I think that we might want to go ahead and renew the leases for a longer term.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, next, business items, Dr. Sims Johnson, Dr. Mayor. Is she here? Oh, there she is. Hey,
Behind the mic.
I didn't see her. She came up behind that podium.
Good evening to Mr. Banks and the entire Madison County Board of Supervisors. On behalf of the MCCSA Board of Directors, the citizens of Madison County, and the MCCSA staff, thank you for this opportunity to provide an overview of their emergency broadband benefit program. Madison County Citizen Service Agency registered and signed on with the Federal Communications Commission as an outreach partner on March 24th, 2021. Our primary goal is to provide outreach services in Madison County because we recognize the need for broadband services for the citizens of Madison County. We know and we have observed the critical need of broadband internet services during the COVID-19 pandemic. We recognize the impact it has on work, school, daily life operations, and more importantly, economic development across Madison County. Subsequently, the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program is a federal communication commission program to help families that are struggling to afford internet services during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Emergency Broadband Relief Program was effective last Tuesday, May 12th, 2021. This is a temporary program that will expire when the funds are out or 6 months after the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services declares an end to the COVID-19 health emergency. The benefits of the program are: recipients can receive up to $50 discount each month for broadband services. Recipients can receive up to $75 discount each month if they're on tribal lands. A recipient can receive a one-time discount of up to $100 on a laptop, a desktop computer, or a tablet that is purchased from a participating provider in the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. Who is eligible to receive services? A household is eligible if there is one member of the household who has an income that is at or below 135% of the federal poverty guidelines, or if a member of the household receives government assistance programs. If there's a recipient in the household who received benefits under the free and reduced price lunch and breakfast program, if there's a recipient who has received a Pell Grant during the current award year, if there's a recipient and the household has experienced a significant loss in income due to job loss or furlough since February 29th, 2020, or if a recipient in the household will meet the eligibility requirements for a participating provider with the existing low-income COVID-19 program. There are 3 ways that a recipient can apply for broadband emergency benefits. The first one is they can contact their participating provider directly, and that information is indicated on the application. The second way that a recipient can apply for emergency broadband benefits is to go to getemergencybroadband.org. They can submit that application online. They can also identify and find those participating service providers online, and they can upload the required documents verifying their income and if they receive government assistance, and they also have to provide a photo identification tool. The third way that a recipient can receive and apply for emergency broadband benefit services, they can mail in the application, and they can also attach proof of eligibility to be determined eligible to receive broadband services. We will have those applications, we have those applications at our office. We will assist recipients with completing those applications. We will assist them with obtaining the documentations for verification, and we will assist those recipients with mailing those applications. For more information, recipients can also call a 1-800 number that's on the flyer in your package, and also they can visit fcc.gov/broadband benefits, and it provides a detailed overview of the program. I'd like to talk briefly about the participating broadband service providers in Madison County. When you go to the website getemergencybroadband.org and you go to maintain a list of participating providers that are sorted by state and territory, what the recipient has to do is place their zip code in the box or the city and state where they live. And what's going to be generated for them is a list of all of the broadband providers in their respective service area. For example, when I put in Ridgeland, Madison, Canton, and Flora, 44 providers popped up for Ridgeland, Canton, and Madison, and fewer providers popped up for the Flora area. Some examples are, and we're not promoting any emergency broadband service participating providers. It's Uplink, AT&T, SafeLink Wireless, T-Mobile, Comcast Cable Communications, C-Spire, Global Connections, AT&T Mobility, Bell South Telecommunications, Assurance Wireless, Windstream, and the list goes on. There are 44 different providers. When the recipient pulls up the list of the providers, they're able to locate them by address. The phone number is going to be listed, and the provider will indicate the type of service that they provide. There are going to be two different types of services, and it's going to be indicated on the line where that server provider's name appear. They're going to provide fixed services, which means broadband services are provided within the home. It's a single location, for example, cable, fiber optic, DSL, satellite, and fixed wireless services. The second type of service that providers will make available is going to be mobile. And that service is going to be attached to a device similar to a cell phone. And so there are some EBB participating providers that will provide both fixed and mobile services. That information will be indicated on the locator list of the participating service providers in the prospective area of the participant. I'd like to talk briefly about Lifeline because the Lifeline program is referenced throughout the information regarding emergency broadband. Lifeline provides up to $9.25 each month on a discount of service for eligible low-income subscribers. The Lifeline program has been available since the mid-'80s. I want to say 1985. Persons are eligible for Lifeline services and EBB services if they are recipients of federal assistance programs. Usually, these recipients will fall below 135% of the federal poverty guidelines. And some examples of those Lifeline programs are going to be SNAP, Medicaid, federal public housing assistance, supplemental security income, veterans and surviving pension benefits, and certain tribal programs. These are some documents that are going to be needed for recipients to be considered eligible for emergency broadband services. They're going to have to scan in a copy or photo identification with the application. If they're receiving Lifeline government assistance services, they're going to have to provide verification of that participation. Also, they're going to have documentations to prove that their income is 35% below the federal poverty guidelines. At this point, I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have. Our role at this point as a partner is to provide the resources, the support, the TA outreach that the citizens of Madison County may need, that they can maximize the services that are available through the emergency broadband benefit program.
Okay, very good. Do we have any questions?
Doc, we ain't gonna do it, tell them to call you in your office.
That's all I'm gonna.
We have that on the outreach. Okay, thank you. That will work.
That's
why we're there.
We're going to post
Thank
this
you.
on our social media websites and direct people. Can I get you to acknowledge her report in the minutes?
There motion for
You gonna
acknowledgement.
put on our Facebook page and everything?
Second.
That's my motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Second thing before she steps away, item number later in the agenda, there's a request on here from Citizen Services related to some parking spaces. Can I get you to acknowledge or approve her request for up to 8 parking spaces in the parking lot across the street from this building?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There you go.
That's item
Thank
50 on your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you all support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Angela
right here.
Carson, City Kent. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Angela Carson. I am representing the Hispanic Task Force that the mayor established in February of this year. So on December 29th, 2020, Canton experienced a triple murder with 3 Hispanic individuals being killed, were murdered in their home. A young mother, her unborn 8-month-old child, and her brother. And since then, we have been working to bridge the gap, if you will, in terms of understanding what happened, not just with that event, but in terms of bridging the gap with that community. And so the mayor formed a task force in February of this year, and we have been meeting on a weekly basis. And this task force is representative of various backgrounds. We have, for instance, Father Mike with Sacred Heart Catholic Church, Beth Foose from Grace Episcopal, Reverend Nash from the Baptist Association, community members from the Hispanic community, the Black community, and the white community. And we've been serving to put together a plan of what we need to do as a community. And so in March of this year, we held our first combined meeting at the multipurpose complex, where we invited members of that community and our community to begin to have conversations. And it was a listening session, it was a learning session for many of us to understand the needs there. And we left there hearing issues identified in several categories initially: education, workforce development, health, and then, of course, safety. And we have been meeting since then to address those particular issues. Our meetings are by Zoom on Thursdays at 11 a.m. You all are welcome to participate. But since then, the school superintendent and his staff have stepped in to address issues around having bilingual persons hired in the schools, as well as a bilingual social worker, and they're working on some other pieces around technology to be able to communicate better with the parents. We had some teenagers to talk about their experience that they're seeing in the high school, and so those things are being addressed as well. Chief Otha Brown is also on this committee also. We have had a doctor from the MEA Health Clinic who has stepped up to provide. He just recently did health screenings for the athletic department, and they're looking at connecting the community with the free clinic that's offered at Pine Lake Church in Gluckstadt. Jessica Nichols and staff from the from the Madison County Wind Jobs Center have talked to us about the effects that the closure of PICOs and other things will have on the community. So we're trying to address all of those different areas. In addition to that, we invited Sheriff Tucker to come to one of our meetings, and that is why I'm here today, because part of the community lives outside of the county. And the task force was asking, well, what role does the county play in this? And so he came on to share what they have been doing as a department. And with his presentation, he said that the Sheriff's Department had been asked to form a council. Well, you all have a council as a result of the ACLU lawsuit, where you have representatives from the community serving on the council. And as a task force, we wanted to come before you all to ask if you will consider bringing a person from the Hispanic community to serve on that community council so that they will have a voice there. And he told me that I needed to contact you, Mr. Banks. We've talked, presented the letter, and then so here I am to make that presentation. So our goal in all of this is to look at what we need to do as a county, as a community, to hear voices from all so we can understand better, so we can work, and so we can make improvements in all of these different areas. And we will have our next public meeting on Sunday, June 6th at 4 p.m. More than likely that will be at the multipurpose complex again, and you all are more than welcome to attend that as well.
Okay. And, you know, the task force that we have with the Sheriff's Department, I think that there's been we talked about a couple of different ways of maybe getting representation from the Hispanic community. And one was expansion, but I don't know if we could legally expand because it was part of the judge's order. What we have to do is look at actually as we rotate people off, then we need to be aware that the Hispanic community needs the representation. They definitely need the representation on that particular, because they are a part of this community, and they need to be more so a part of this community by being on different boards and everything else that anybody that's living in this community is trying and striving to do. So I think that what we as a board had discussed, though, that we need to be aware and need to be in contact, of course, at the time when somebody's rotating off. We need to be able to make contact with you and see if you have anybody that could go on at that time. That's, I believe, where this board has kind of left it in the last couple of weeks that we've talked about it.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any?
Just wait.
That was where we are, and we need to take a look. Our attorney has been looking into it to see how the terms of the ones that are on now are set up. I know they're set up by supervisory district. So I think that when I find out when the one that I have expires, then I definitely will be talking to you about if you have someone that I might be able to replace him with.
Okay. How long is the term that the individual serve?
It's a year.
It's an annual? Okay.
It's a year extended, so
Okay.
to another year by year by year. So when the year terminates and it opens up, as President Banks said, they could appoint his representative.
Okay.
So you should be hearing something pretty soon.
That would be great, and we stand here ready to recommend, and like I said, just continuing to make inroads with that community. And as you mentioned, just about others looking at bringing representation, the police department is looking to hire an officer and a dispatcher who is bilingual. The city is looking at this. We made recommendations to them because they're asking for translators and interpreters to be in the community to assist. CMU is taking a look at this, so it's just kind of weaving its way throughout the community to see where we better need to be positioned to address the needs.
Okay. Well, and you know how to contact me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, tomorrow you can make contact so I can get your contact information. I'm not sure if I have it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Thank you
That'll
so
work.
much.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, we have Reverend Leroy Lacy. He's got a different hat on. He wears a different hat every time he comes in here.
Good evening to this board, Mr. President, to the rest of the board. I'm here on a different task. Leroy Lacy. I'm here to represent East Madison Water Association, Inc., where I stand as president at the moment. And what I'm here on to deal with is I've been in virtual meetings and different meetings with the Rural Water Association across the state of Mississippi. And the reason being, you all know we just had a recent storm here, an ice storm. We just had a recent storm here that knocked out a lot of power and stuff to our water wells. But I was working on this already, dealing with our water association going out north. But anyway, I did some research and I talked to my supervisor, Mr. Griffin. He referred me to Mr. Espy. And there is a American Rescue Plan out here that deals with water in particular. And they said all of the money flows through the Madison County Supervisors, and that's why I am here. I have my engineer here from Hefney Engineer, Mr. Austin Moore, with me. He can answer any questions about water for you if need be on here. But anyway, this particular, the way it's written, the American Recovery Plan is deal with infrastructures, including water, sewage, and broadband services across the state. And they said they was pumping in millions of dollars to the Madison County area here for that. I did send a...
Who is they? Who is they?
The Rural Water Association, they said across the state of Mississippi was sending money into the different counties. Well, they said different counties. So,
Madison.
well, I figured Madison County was one of the counties too, I hope.
Well, I just want to say who they
That's what I'm hoping. Now, I wouldn't hope they would send everything but out to Madison County because I live here. But I sent a copy of Hefner Engineer to Mr. Shelton. I don't know whether he distributed to all y'all guys before I got here on a proposal from our engineer from Hefner Engineer. And what we do, our water association extends to several schools on our end, so y'all know how important it is for us to make sure our water and everything is in order because we serve several schools out there on that end as well. And he sent a report, and after that report, no, y'all may not want to see it, but we have to be inspected by the Mississippi Department of Health. And they have recognized some of our problems as well with our inspection. We must have an inspection every year. And so they recognize some of our problems as well that Hefner Engineer has already found with us. And we're here just to ask that if there are funds available, we're asking that East Madison Water Association is included. Because actually our wells went down the other two storms, and some of the things that some of the engineers report is causing because our infrastructure and they need to be repaired, and they need to be repaired quickly as possible. So if there are funds, I'm just here on behalf of the association to ask, and I have Mr. Moore here and from Hefner Engineer. He is our engineer for East Madison Water Association, and he can answer any questions that need to be answered. He's inspected all of our wells. He knows exactly what's going on with every one of them. Just the other day, when the storm came through, our Sharon well went down through lightning, and you'll find that on the report. And we lost power and water from that particular well on that particular day and didn't get it back up to maybe some 2 days, 3 days later. So it's very important if y'all have any funds that y'all include East Madison Water Association in those funds from the American Rescue Plan.
That's the reason I asked you a while ago when you said they pumping in a lot of money into Madison County. I want to know who you say they are.
Well, the Department of Treasury here. It says Department of Treasury, American rescue plan.
But we definitely want to go after any monies.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a question, well, out order your engineer question? The East Madison system, what, do we have fire hydrants in any portions of the system?
Yeah.
But do we need to add, increase lines in some areas so we can increase the number of fire hydrants and fire protection? Is that probably a true statement?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And we do have the adequate water supply so that we can, as we add lines and add fire hydrants, because I'm just thinking about, I know an area where CMU has, which is not part of you guys, but it's up Rocky Hill Road, and they don't have fire hydrants in a lot of areas up there, and that's something that I'm really interested in trying to get more fire protection for all of our citizens of Madison County. And the only way we're going to be able to get a real fire protection is we got to have good water supply, as you know. So I'm just asking that question and be talking to you, Reverend Lacy, about y'all's system, because we want to see what we can do to increase fire protection. I would hope to see countywide fire protection at some point in time.
Well, we do have a fire hydrant. Mr. Griffith can attest to that because we have the Rattler Fire Department now. We have the Farm Haven, and we have Camden that actually comes down and be on our line as well when it comes to water.
Yeah.
And we do have fire hydrants, but we need to update in some areas with fire hydrants. We got one in Sharon now. What is that fire station now?
Battleview.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But we have a well there as well in Sharon that we need to update bad because the lighting hit it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, and you can give me a brief answer on it if you can. West Madison and East Madison, they made up different. Can we as a board, if we have money, fund East Madison, since their board is not appointed by Madison County Board of Supervisors?
Thank you for the question. All right, the American Rescue Plan has guidance that they issued, and so whatever monies Madison County is due to receive can be used for a number of things. And one of them would be for infrastructure, water, sewer, broadband. Now, when you turn to this section, water, sewer, broadband, you certainly can use the money for county projects under the auspices of Madison County. Now, then you go to transfer authority, which is what you're looking for. So whatever monies we receive can be transferred for necessary infrastructure projects to special purpose units of state or local government. So special purpose units of state or local government are entities that you set up, where you could, you created it like PIDs almost. You created it, you appoint the commissioners, and you have some say so, even though they are semi-autonomous, you have some say so in how to use those funds. So those are special purpose units of local government, like that would be West Madison Water District. This is something you created, that you created a commission, and that you were able to give them money from the budget to be used by the commissioners for their purposes. So that is the most direct way to do it. Now, and I hate to give you like a nuanced answer, but that is the best way to do it. So it says special purpose units of state or local government that you control. So that's West Madison. East Madison's a little different because you didn't create that. Now, if you turn to the language, the interim final rule, it says that for water and sewer infrastructure projects that are the highest priority, you may transfer monies even if they are privately owned infrastructure. So to me, it depends on your discretion, how much you have available. And then there's a hierarchy system. You know, water, sewer, broadband of Madison County, like under the governance of this board. Water, sewer, broadband projects of special purpose units that you control, which is West Madison, and then everything else.
Mike, are you referring to the monies that I guess we will receive once we request? Is that the money you're referring to?
This is American Rescue Plan monies.
Okay, so that's the money that Leroy is referring to then. Okay, are there other monies that we can ask for through that plan?
There are other monies coming from the state of Mississippi, which East Madison can ask for directly as kind of an independent organization which you could support.
Yeah, because my understanding is that they are going to, talking about the Congress, is going to revisit this plan with the 20 million, and I'm just using for Madison County, to possibly look at expanding the use of that money to roads and bridges, possibly roads and bridges.
All I can say to you is that this is an interim final rule, and the comments are coming back to Washington, and they're going to make the final rule in due course.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
It's not Mike, this to Reverend Lacy and your engineer. Something else I think you should be getting in the pipeline for is filling out some type of grant to solicit the state for some funds to assist you all. Cause like Madison County getting that money for rural water, the state is getting probably 10, 15 times the amount of what we're getting. So it'd be good you're in line with them also. And I believe this board will support you with a letter or something to that effect. So, and I wouldn't wait because everybody's getting in line for when it do hit. Everybody gonna have their hand reaching to get it. But we got your request, and definitely gonna keep you in mind.
Thank you all for listening.
All right.
Thank you, Leroy.
Okay. Ms. Buckner.
Lynette.
Good evening, board members. I bring to you item 39, which is to award the knuckle boom truck for the road department. Attached are copies of the results of the recent reverse auction for a knuckle boom truck. I recommend that the board take the following actions. First, acknowledge the bids received.
Can we get a motion on that? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
The second one is to award the bid to Whole Mac Corporation, Inc. as the lowest and best bidder.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Got
Evening, Tim.
3 items for you. The first 2 are requests to advertise. The first being request to advertise for the repair of the closed bridge on McCullough Lane.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. The second request to advertise is for grading work along Deweese Road.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
The final item I have is an interlocal agreement between us and the city of Canton for us to do the Highway 22 at King Ranch Road signal. This is
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Update on King Ranch Ditch and then Stump Bridge Road Bridge.
okay. Headwaters is working on the environmental requirements for the ditch. We had some issues getting permission to get on a couple of properties, but we've got that handled, and they're now working on it. Stump Bridge Road, I talked to our state aid engineer. If we have good weather, 4 weeks we'll be out of there. If we don't, 6 weeks.
How many weeks?
4 to 6. The bridge is pretty much done. They're working on the approaches.
2 weeks not long ago? Or do I confuse them bridges?
It's rained a lot.
I thought it was 2 weeks.
I just talked to him a minute ago, and it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Man, we've been on that road for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
The next meeting, if you will, bring us back when that bridge was shut down. What date?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Scott Weeks.
I have 2 items. I have one for new business when that comes up. First item, number 43, Charles Clark, request for a refund of building permits 26926 and 26989. Total refund is $1,480. He will be submitting some more plans on a metal structure building. That's due to the cost of lumber.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And a preliminary plat, Madisonville Phase 1, South Yandle Road, and this is in Supervisor District 5.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Our attorney.
Item 45 is an unclaimed body situation with a few assets, a couple of small checks that she had. So in order for us to proceed properly, I need authority to open an estate for her and put the assets there and then dispose of them when the judge signs the order.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. President, Supervisors, if I can draw your attention to item number 46, you may know the home grant that we participate in. All federal grants have some form of monitoring that is required of them, and you'll see the monitoring report that has been presented to us, and they've had one finding against us, and that was that once the payments are received, the issuance of the check took longer than they desired for us to take in issuance of the check. The reason for this rule is they do not want the county making a profit off of federal grant funds. So the requirement is that once the check is received, that the payment be made to the vendor within 15 days. An error was made and it was longer than 15 days. So I'd ask that you acknowledge that monitoring report with that finding.
Motion acknowledged.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item, number 47, is our response to the monitor. And basically it says, we won't do this again. I'd ask for you to approve that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 48, a lease agreement with Fairview Park that was executed several years ago, but it was never enrolled in land records. Would you authorize the enrollment or the recording of that lease in land records?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 49, Senate Bill 2024. I want to point out a couple of things that are changed with the legislative session. These go into effect July 1. Number 1, the legislature has provided a mechanism for you to now have a depository for 4 years rather than just 2. The existing law allows you to have a depository for 2 years. The new law allows it up to 4. I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing because interest rates can change significantly in a 4-year time period, but you do have that option. Additionally, Senate Bill 2024 removes the requirement for reverse auction on term bids. We've struggled over the past couple of years in doing reverse auctions. That is no longer an option for term bids. And then number 3, the last part of 2024 requires you to enter auditors, requires you to accept the external auditors adjusting entries to our financial statements or put in the minutes why we do not accept them. Okay, we've never had a situation where we didn't accept them, but obviously someone did. So 3 things, changing the depository, time period. Number two, removing the requirement for reverse auctions for term bids. And number three, putting some additional restrictions in related to your auditors adjusting entries if you would just acknowledge Senate Bill 2024.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
We've already heard from Citizen Services. Item number 51, tomorrow afternoon, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman is inviting you to a meeting of the three counties, Hinds, Madison, and Rankin County elected officials. If you want to go, I need to know because I need to respond back to them to tell them how many people to expect, and I've got the address and the time for that. Number 52, we have Memorial Day coming up, also Jefferson Davis's birthday. Would you approve closing of county offices on that holiday?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, then a couple of things for new business.
Okay, now our comptroller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Item number 53 is the approval of the general claims docket for May 12th.
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. I thought you would. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
The next items, 54 and 55, are the approval of the payroll dockets for May 3rd and May 12th.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Number 56 is the approval of the Fleet Corps claim docket.
Motion.
all in favor? Okay. $36.
Oh, $6 more than mine.
And the last item, number 57, is the approval of the daily rates of pay for the salary employees.
Motion.
Okay. All in favor? $36. That's
$6 more than mine.
$36.72.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, Randy Lott.
Nothing, Mr. President.
Sheriff. Old business. It's new business.
Oh,
There you
now we
go.
finna go home, Scott.
Yeah, we can read
I'm
that.
going to make this real quick.
Oh, no.
I had a preliminary plat come in. They finally decided some names. They had problems with a bunch of names on it, they duplicates. It's Woodscape of Oakfield is Phase 4. It's off Clarkdale Road, 56 lots in Supervisor District 1.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, Supervisors, I draw your attention to an item that I put on your table. This is from the Massett, our insurance trust. At the next meeting, we will need you to vote for up to 3 of those individuals to serve on the Massett Board of Trustees. And you will notice a familiar name, Supervisor Griffin is one of the options there. In the past couple of weeks, I have been working, and we'll bring that back at the next meeting for you to vote on if you'll have up to 3 people that you will select available.
Each one of us gets a chance to vote?
It's one vote of up to 3 for the county.
Oh, shoot.
So we all 5 of us got to choose 3. The same 3.
The same 3.
Right, that's right. The same 3.
Okay.
Okay, I have been working with the circuit judges on a couple of requests that they have that I need to make sure you're in agreement with. You may be aware that state judges, circuit and chancery have state budgets to provide equipment for their offices. The circuit judges are in the process of purchasing computers that they want to use in their office. Typically, we do not allow other computers, that is non-county equipment, to be on our network. So number one, I'm asking you to consider allowing their state-owned computers to tie into our computer network. Also, I'm asking you to consider allowing a permanent VPN tunnel between here and Rankin County, which is where their other office is. And the requirement for them to be on our system and to have that static VPN tunnel would be that they have to maintain active virus protocols on their computer system. So would you, if you have questions about that, I can answer the questions. Or if not, would you concur with their requests for those things between their offices?
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, really quickly, as of this week, you all know that we're now down to one payroll cycle for all employees. The change has reduced us from 74 pay cycles in the year to only 26 pay cycles during the year. Previously, we were running about 1.5 payrolls a week, 1.4 payrolls a week. We're now running one cycle every 2 weeks, giving a little breathing room between the pay cycles. There is no longer a need to estimate hours worked in the final days of a pay cycle or be concerned about leave without pay matters, as all employees are being paid for a reconciled work week with no estimates. After this past Friday's payroll, we did hear from a couple of people who needed to adjust their direct deposit or with tax withholding preferences. But after about 1,000 manual entries that were required, we had one person's insurance withholding that did not get adjusted, and that mistake was corrected today. So with last week's paycheck, most employees began receiving payment for wages that they otherwise would not have received until May 31 of this year. The next pay date is May 28th, where everyone will be paid for a 2-week work cycle. Okay? 72.
$72.
We've calculated a little higher than that next time.
I got overpaid.
One other thing I want to remind you, paying attention to the news in the area, the Gluckstadt Incorporation, my understanding of the timeline is that this Thursday will be the deadline for appeals, for requests for rehearing. Whether that occurs or not, I don't know, but should it not occur, my understanding is Gluckstadt will be incorporated by the time you return to a meeting. Okay?
Good for them.
Yep.
Right now, there has been no conversation with me. I'm not sure about you about transition of services to the city. So, do you want to identify? Do you want to identify some point people for serving to provide a transition plan?
Yes.
We have not received a mandate, Mr. President, from the Supreme Court. We have not received a mandate from the Supreme Court yet.
We have not received it yet, the mandate from the Supreme Court.
This is what they've done. It's just been an article in the newspaper.
Right. You won't receive it. If the deadline is Thursday, as I said, I understand it is, you won't receive the mandate until after Thursday. Okay. But regardless, if they're incorporating, do you want to identify a transition team? And if you don't, that's it.
Okay. I don't, it'd be the wishes of the board.
Don't have any money.
You know, I would believe that there's going to be a need for some of our professionals to work with the Gluckstadt administration. That I don't know who it is, but you know, people will know, and let them know what things and will be given up, and what things they will be taking over. The tax people, somebody in the tax office have to deal with how the taxes are done also, I would imagine, if they're going to be implementing any kind of municipal taxes. So, yeah.
Well, I would assume that's going to happen. I don't know that, but the
sales tax, you know, we know that's going to.
That's right. And of course, that would be a city function to notify the Department of Revenue that they're now incorporated and here's the boundaries of the city. Obviously, when the court speaks, the tax assessor would have the boundaries from the court action, but there are still things, police protection, garbage collection, possibly fire protection, permitting, zoning, things of that nature that will need to be transferred. And there has to be a plan for that transfer.
So it'd be basically all our department heads and our lawyers then, transition team.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, do you,
Elected official. like
Along
the
with the
sheriff.
elected officials.
Is that a
like
motion?
The sheriff.
That's it, motion.
I'll second that motion for department heads especially.
Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, we.
Department heads and elected officials?
And the elected officials,
And lawyer.
yeah. But
How
a
about the
lawyer
county administrator?
And the administrator.
and the administrator.
Department head.
We consider our lawyer and our administrator a department head.
Okay, yes, sir. I need that clarification, yes.
Yeah, that. Cause see, we don't know. They gotta tell us stuff. Okay, is that everything? Do we have,
We have an executive session now.
we got an executive session?
Motion to go into closed
As quick as we
determination.
want it to be.
Huh?
As quickly as we want it to be, we can do this.
Okay then, motion for close determination was made by Supervisor Baxter, and second by Supervisor Jones. He didn't say anything, but I
Voted
just
by
put
everybody?
words in her mouth.
Is there a vote on this?
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Turn the
Sit
mic
down, we're gonna stay in here. So hopefully when we get up, we can get out of here.